Hi guys, welcome back to the Incredible Hulk podcast. This time talking about season 1 story called Life and Death, which was written by James D. Parriott and directed by Jeffrey Hayden. Co-starred Diane Savita, who's now called Diane Cary, and Andrew Robinson as Dr. Rhodes. I think it's Rhodes or Rhodes? Rhodes. Yeah, I always get a bit confused about it, yeah. And we go into who he was famous in later on as we go along, because he's done quite a few big things. I'm joined by my friends here for this edition. We've got Sue. How are you, Sue?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks, Frank.
And Graham, how are you doing there?
Frank, good to be back, pal. Good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you both. Thank you so much for joining me. Right, and just to let you know, at the end of this, our chat, I interviewed Diane Cary, formerly Diane Savita, who's in this story, who plays Carrie Taylor, the expectant mum. So you'll be able to enjoy that interview at the end. So do stick around for that. And she was really, really nice. So that was done recently. So here we go with the opening part, and of course Diane is in this section, playing Carrie Taylor.
Hitchhiking.
Up with David on the road, and here's a little thing for you. She does say it in the interview, but actually she was pregnant in real life while she was recording this story. That was just serendipitous, apparently. It wasn't written for her like that, but she was actually expecting her daughter at that time. So it's kind of strange how art mirrors life, you know. But anyway, she meets up with David. Yeah, she meets up with David, and they get chatting, and they get a ride in a van, and she tells him about the baby and stuff, and she's due very soon, and she's going to this place called Matrix, and David happens to be going to a hospital very close by, which is looking into genetic research, DNA and stuff like that. And he's hoping to get some help there. So, guys, what do you think of this opening? It's quite nice, the two of them talking together and that, and
Well, hitchhiking's dangerous.
Yes.
I mean, but it didn't seem like the hitchhiking was the dangerous part for her. It was where she was going.
Yes, where she was going, exactly. Is more dangerous than the hitchhike, I think, because David was with her in the van anyway. So
yeah, and for me, this was a good opening. It's a nice way of setting up both your story strands throughout the episode. You've got the situation with Carrie in the Matrix illegal adoption facility, and then you've got David with his DNA testing in the hospital nearby. So it's a good way to segue both parts of the story and then have it sprout off into each plot point.
Yeah, it's interesting because the two strands merge into one, really.
Later on, yeah.
Kind of involved with the same characters in both story strands, with Dr. Rhodes and his stuff, which is affecting David and ultimately affecting Carrie as well. Because he's a bit of a dodgy bugger, that Rhodes, as we know.
All about the money, yeah.
All about the money, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and when he gets strapped to the table, David thinks this is going to be the successful thing, but then the guy gets ugly right away.
That's when he tried to put the wrong type of drug in there. What a little prick that was,
We're coming to that bit, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's a
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
You jumped ahead. Come on, get real into Jesus.
You're jumping into that first Hulk out a little bit prematurely there, mate.
Sorry.
We'll get to an episode, so save him. Jesus.
But what's interesting is he goes. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but I wrote down a little tidbit about this section. When he goes to meet Rhodes, and he turns up and he's ecstatic to see him. I didn't think you'd get here, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
You do know the risks, blah blah blah. We separate this thing and we inject this DNA into you or whatever it is, it could have serious side effects or even kill, death. So David is fully aware of it and is willing to take the risk of this, but he has to sign a what do you call it? A disclosure form?
A waiver, a non-disclosure.
Waiver, so they have no responsibility if anything happens. Yeah, that's right. So he's all for that, to do that. There's a bit in this where Rhodes is doing this procedure and he's looking through the microscope and cutting the strand off,
the laser, yep.
Yeah. And he actually, because his first name's Stan Rhodes, and he actually says, "Come on, Stan Lee."
There you go.
He doesn't say Stan Lee, he says Stan, little Stan Lee.
Yeah, a wee shout out there.
Yeah. And I didn't pick up on this until a fan mentioned it recently, funny enough, because they've been looking at it, and I thought, so I wanted to see. And he even kindly pointed out the time stamp when he says it, so I went straight to it. And he does. He says, "Come on." He says it twice in the episode, actually. He says,
there you go.
"Come on, Stan Lee." Stan Lee. So
nice little tidbit.
The big man himself,
Trying to kill the big man.
Yeah. You got the big
Excelsior to that, yeah. There you go.
And the big green fella, yeah.
Boxing clever.
So anyway, so it's basically what the idea is that this thing that he injects into his brain is somehow going to attack the cells that cause aggression or something like that.
Yes.
So that's the kind of story strand at the moment with David and him. Then he explains to him that he can't get a grant for his research. So obviously he's doing, we know that he's doing untoward things to get the money. There's a distressed patient. This sort of opens up the other strand. There's a distressed patient, a woman that's been admitted to hospital that was found on the street bleeding. She'd just given birth. David's standing at the doorway, sort of eavesdropping, and she cries out, "Matrix took my baby. I want my baby back." So that's the first.
Thankfully, not in Staten Island, but yeah.
Yeah. But now, of course, David's going, he's taken Carrie to Matrix. Now she's saying this. Now this is the old David radar is up now. The way he always got that.
Yeah.
That he has to find out. So he goes there, doesn't he, to try and talk.
He does.
Around.
Yeah.
That bit.
So, and in that initial exchange, you find out that she's willing to give up her kid. Then he plants a seed in her head to possibly reconsider this, which.
And was it at the beginning of that she, or that there were more babies shown in the?
Yeah, that was just to clarify the fact that there was an illegal adoption agency.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all there in their little cots and stuff, aren't they? Yeah.
Yep.
So there's rotten things going on in Denmark, as they say.
Yeah. Horatio. Yeah.
So David does do his best, but he says, "I've got to get back for 4:00 because I'm meant to be having this, this injection."
Yep.
You've got to make a choice now. Blah blah blah. And then of course, there's the real villain. It seems to me, even though Rose does a terrible thing, as we find out in a minute. The real villain to me seems to be the woman in it who's definitely manipulating Rhodes. That woman?
Yeah.
She's blackmailing him. She's funding the money for his research.
Funding research, yeah.
Yep.
Indeed.
She's she's got no morals whatsoever.
Yeah. Well,
she's a B1 star ICH, yeah, so
time.
Anybody who's willing to steal children has got to be some sort of sick, twisted.
Yeah, she just doesn't seem to have a conscience at all, does she?
Nope.
I'd say she's more villainous really than anything. But
Rhodes is more corrupt than villain.
Yes, yeah. He's really just in a desperate situation.
He did try to kill David. I mean, he did try to.
Oh, I know, yeah. Right? But he's being blackmailed by that scheming woman.
Yeah.
She said, "Do you really want to go to prison for this?" And blah blah blah. Has he signed a waiver? Well, you could get away with murder basically because
this leads into him signing the waiver, and now Sue, you can talk about your bit with him on the bloody table.
That whole
yeah, he's strapped down. The Dr. Rhodes stabs him in the neck, and David's like, that's not going into the wrong. That's going into the wrong part of my brain. That's not going into my hypothalamus. And then he was like, and that's not even a long enough needle. I mean, what are you trying to prove, dude? And then he finds out that the needle's just full of morphine hydrochloride.
Yep.
Sulfite, yeah.
Hydrosulfide, and
basically this is going to kill you.
and so then he hulks out, and the Hulk gets drunk and stumbles around.
No, he's not drunk. He's
drunk.
He's drugged. Oh, yeah.
He's all drowsy and stuff like that.
I've just got a wee nitpick with that with the corridor scenes in the hospital though. When there's a big muscular green mother buggering monster floating about, and some of these nurses are just looking as if to say, "Oh, ain't it cute? Hey, look at that! That looks cute, isn't it?" You're like, a bit more urgency, folks. A bit more screaming and running away. No.
Oh, there were a few that were. You could hear panics going on in the distance and stuff.
Yeah, but it was some of the facials. You're going, oh, you're like,
fancy cup of tea. Yeah.
Man,
he looks a bit. He did well.
It's like they never saw a green bodybuilder before.
Whoa, we've been hijacked.
Not a green one. So that's quite fun. Alex has joined us as well here. That's really nice. So he's going around on the rampage a bit, a bit punchy.
He's not even on the rampage. He's trying to
walking
focus,
around,
see what he's doing, and even the ones with the food carts just storing in the corner, going, "What's that? How are we getting the hell out of there?" You're like,
and he can't see, and he can't, and he's like, he's got the nods off and all that stuff.
And then you get the poor old dear in the elevator.
I love that bit in the elevator.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, Frank, remember the Facebook chat where I showed the picture when they had Mackenzie Phillips as the rock and roll singer, and she's trying to commit suicide, and then that one, he was accidentally drugged with LSD, and so he and Hulk and Dave, and himself again, they were kind of having an out of body experience and seeing snakes and.
These other, tripping on that stuff. He was and this stuff was just making.
It's kind of
woozy. Yeah.
It's kind of strange how the Hulk in a way protected him from really flipping out or dying.
Yeah, because of course as we know, eventually when he comes down from certain things, when he changes back, eventually he's healed, isn't he? He's got regenerative qualities. He can heal from.
Although, just a quick note on the Hulk. You can tell this is really on in early. This is obviously episode 10 of season 1 or something, or episode 8, whatever it is. But with the whole green effect, instead of just the up goes the eyeball, then he's away. You get the whole green effect into the face. Yes, I know they eventually get rid of that, but
they did. I think after season 1, they dropped that idea.
Yeah,
and they brought in the now infamous. Transformation sting, that noise when he changes. That come into season 2 and onwards. But at the beginning,
it's almost like a ping or something. It's like
like a sting going in that sound, the choral sound. But in the early ones, it didn't quite do it the same way. It was different. It was underscored.
And then later on, didn't they always show like the clothes ripping or whatever? But always keeping his pants on, though. The clothes are ripping.
That's just about right. Yeah, when they get ripped a bit.
To be fair, Alex, it's the Incredible Hulk. It's not the Incredible Bulk. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's not the Incredible X-rated version of the Hulk.
It's not the blue Hulk. It's the green one. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
But the Hulk is nice to babies. Oh my gosh. The Hulk is so nice to babies. Oh,
he's got a thing with babies. He gets on very well with them, doesn't he? Yeah.
Well, you skipped a part again, but eventually,
Yeah, I mean, it was like the Hulk was ready to babysit. Thinking the baby a kiss,
But there's a funny bit here when the Hulk smashes out of the elevator.
Yep.
You get this appallingly bad stunt where he's going down really slowly on wires, and that was actually a stunt double called Manny Perry.
Yep.
Who stood in for him. Who was actually a black actor. Who was
there you go.
Done up as green. Yeah. But I mean, that was a bad effect because it come down really slow mo, like this on a wire, and then he dropped, and then it's Lou again. You know, that wasn't well executed, really.
Was it 76 or something? I think. So
78.
Well, so that would have been from 77. So yeah,
40
budget,
years,
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They saved on the budget in that bit. Yeah. But anyway,
so he buggers off to the woods. He comes down after his Hulk guy. He's now David again.
But he's
still, like something out of George Romano's Dead, the Living Dead, walking about trying to find the hospital and the payphone.
He's still affected by the drug, so he hasn't got rid of it yet. He's still really, really woozy and staggery, and he tries to make a phone call. He can't even see where he's putting the coin in the slot. He gives up on that. And he's hearing over and over again about Matrix and the address. He can sort of hearing thoughts and stuff. So he's trying to make his way there on his own. Eventually,
Carrie gets into labour.
Yeah.
All the bad guys have assembled to complete the deed. And
jumping the gun.
There's a beautiful baby girl.
Hold on, man. No. Pages worth here. I'm only on page 2. What have we missed?
What did I miss? You went to the payphone, but at the same time, she's in the labour.
Oh, yeah, when they go through a couple of, what do you call it, don't they? Back and forth little scenes between her.
Yeah. She's wanting to keep the baby now, apparently, yeah. So.
I know but they are sort of like moving it forward.
While he's trying to find his way there, she's went into labour, basically. So it's like back and forth between the two.
Yeah, David gets to a gate.
Yep.
Because he obviously can't get over the wall. He's just hasn't got the strength. He goes around the back and finds a gate and gets in. That's another thing. That's supposed to be not top secret, but that's supposed to be a highly secure facility. Who leaves a gate on a boat? What the hell, man? I was wondering that. But of course, how else can you get in?
Convenient plot point, I think. Yeah.
You have to get David in there, to do his bit. Yeah. He hears. Interestingly, now Carrie has had a change of heart and wants to keep the baby. And of course, they're not happy about that one.
Yeah.
So they've whipped out the 40 cc's again. Okay, get the way out then.
To induce the pregnancy a bit quicker than hoped.
Yeah.
So the woman's definitely got a hold over Rhodes. That's for sure. So where are we now? Right. Okay. I'm sort of like help us out, these guys here, guys.
He's arrived at the facility, and he's trying to go up the stairs.
David had it nailed. He knew that she wouldn't have a long labor. He kind of had had her figured out in advance.
Interestingly, the guy we saw earlier, I don't know if he's a junior doctor, the guy that was in the hospital.
Oh, the colour fella, yeah.
He's definitely onto it. He's definitely suspicious because she starts telling him a little bit more about, and she mentions Matrix and stuff at that point. Matrix to my baby or something like that. So now he goes, all right, we better call the police, so that sort of sets up why the police come there and stuff. So we've skimmed through.
So essentially, David gets in through the
pretty fast.
He gets in through the back door, shall we say?
He does get in. And he hears the cries from the house. He hears Carrie shouting out.
He has trouble getting up the stairway.
Yeah, that's good. But he's totally out there.
Everybody was thrown down the stairs in this.
You're jumping ahead again, sir.
All right, well, sorry.
You have to explain the Hulk out here, right? He gets up to the top of the stairs and unfortunately falls back down them again.
Falls back down just like the guy had earlier.
And then the eyes, bang.
And you get the hand shots of him crawling.
I like that. That was good. It was that slow sort of thing. His hands are coming up the steps. Then eventually the hand goes green. And the whole...
Yeah, actually, it was a little violent in a way too. I mean, he was throwing, people around. So I mean, they probably should have broken their collarbones or their legs. But like I said, then when he sees the baby, it's babysitting time.
That's right. He just delivers just before the Hulk bashes through the door.
There you go.
Before that would have caused a miscarriage. I would have thought. Bloody hell!
That's
But
that was my only gripe about this. The cops show up. Rhodes and his buddy in the house gets chucked down the stairs and you never see them again. Are they dead? Are they not one mention? So you assume they go to jail off screen, but you're like, did they break anything? No. I mean, yeah.
Well, they might have had a couple of broken bones, but the police took them away and banged them up. We never saw the woman because the woman comes out, doesn't she? And she says to the cops, "Oh, he's in there. Go in there."
She slips out the gate and runs for help, but you just don't know.
That's the runner, yeah. And that's just Rosing it all, yeah.
I didn't think that I thought that they all got away with it, except for maybe if they died, they didn't get away with that, but everybody got away with the baby stealing.
Just before we get to Jack McGee's obligatory cameo right at the end, the actor that played Dr. Rhodes, you said he was, what was it?
Andrew Robinson.
Andrew Robinson, yeah.
He was the baddie in Dirty Harry.
There you go.
On the bike. The road cop on the bike. He was a baddie. That was a lot earlier than this, I think. But he went on to be in Hellraiser. Clive Barker's Hellraiser. I think the first one. Didn't even know that, but he was in that.
Yep.
He also was in... Alex might be able to help me out here, or anyone that knows Star Trek well, the franchise. He was in Star Trek as well. One of the spin-off series. I can't remember which one.
Maybe Next Generation, maybe?
Possibly Next Generation. He was made up as an alien. I can't remember what one it was. Yeah. He appeared in that as well.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was, because even I said to myself, I said, there's got to be some famous people. I mean, there actually was a lot of famous people, and except for, like, Ernie Hudson or Esther Roll or a couple other famous people.
Oh, there were quite a lot.
You didn't always know, and Jeremy Brett, which we've also reviewed the story here.
Yeah, there was a lot of famous throughout it.
Yeah, they had other people that, you either had to see their names or hear them, and then I would actually remember because I did watch it when it first came out.
Sue, what anything you want to say about the episode there?
Well, I love the bit where the woman's giving birth and the pain in her birth is like so minimal. She just kind of has the baby.
Doped up.
Yeah, they took the pain away, didn't they, and made it. I think, because they were injecting her with stuff, weren't they?
Yeah, and then of course the baby was very clean too. It's like, wow, this baby's pretty big and clean and very
the 1970s. You've got to suspend your disbelief.
He went out at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. They couldn't show all the gore then, could they?
Yeah, I did like the episode, even though I thought it was kind of slow, and I think maybe they did that on purpose because, he does seem sort of superhuman, especially when the Hulk is around. So I think maybe just like the episode where he was partially disabled, he couldn't move his legs or whatever, that they were trying to show that, he doesn't just Hulk out and break almost everything in the world. You know what I mean? Like he did in some episodes, or especially in the beginning, where, it seems like he's, 10 bodybuilders in one and can just break everything. And I think maybe they also showed that too with the baby, because I tell you, I was almost thinking he was going to kiss the baby or babysit the baby.
Yeah,
all right.
He was really sweet. He was really into
incredible babysitter.
Yeah,
he was smiling and everything.
Big green babysitter.
Well, that baby was safe with him, that's for sure. Yeah.
So essentially, at the end of this thing, Carrie keeps her baby. All's well, it ends well, and poor old McGee's still on the hunt.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's a nice little moment there with McGee, and David gets wind of McGee being there because he wants to interview Carrie.
I know, and then he does the water fountain trick.
Quickly goes to the water fountain and just misses him.
Hide your face, yeah.
Hail Hydra.
I like that. Yeah, that was a good bit. And he just gets away in the elevator all the time. Yeah.
Oh my God,
that's funny. I know.
I always love those near misses between him, and some of them were so brilliantly staged. He just by a freckle in the hair.
Yep. I thought that was cute too.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Oh
good.
yeah, that's right. They were talking.
So anyway, David saves the
Yeah.
day. Well, the Hulk does. They both do. And
Quality episode. Yep.
Carrie gets a little baby back who happens to be a daughter, which is Diane's
Unnamed.
child,
Yeah, unnamed, but a daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's gonna have sleepless nights, very moist diapers,
Or worse.
or something more, or worse.
As he says, yeah. Or worse.
Well, there you go. That's something to look forward to.
That's what sums up life, really, isn't it? Moist diapers or worse. That's what we've all got to look forward to when we get old, with moist diapers.
Well,
or worse.
Yeah, some folk have, yeah.
Yeah. Let's hope I don't have to do that. But
No,
That's right.
just-
Whether you're 8 months old or 80.
confidence.
there you go.
So let's hope we don't have to look forward to that. But yeah. So that's it, really. That was Life and Death, and that was bloody quick.
Indeed.
You were going faster than I could flick the pages to read it. You summed up 5 pages worth in 5 minutes.
Well, next time just say, right, follow my bullet points.
I was trying to do it in like chronological order,
Yeah.
But I wish we did,
Indeed.
Sorry, I keep jumping ahead, but
I know
I
you
get
love
so
those
dang
Hulk
excited.
So you want to get to him with his shirt off and all that. I know, yeah.
Ah,
Flexing his green pecs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, the funny thing about this, episode was there wasn't a lot of subplot and there wasn't a lot of extra characters, and even when they were, it was very much to the point. I mean, you didn't know who the Doctor's friends, you didn't really know about the Doctor's friends. You didn't really see the Doctor's friends. They didn't really explain beside, I have to have money for my research. I mean, he's basically, Dr. Jekyll and Evil Hyde without any, conscious, I mean, he didn't, it didn't seem like he was even worried that he was going to, really get caught. So, I mean, when you get down to it, this was a very fast-moving, story, except for David and the Hulk being groggy. Everything else was kind of
there was
fast. Yeah,
there was a slow sort of dragged out part where, of course, when after the first Hulk out, when David changes back, and he's trying to get to the Matrix. Before the next Hulk out, that was a long transition.
Who are you going to call? No one, because I lost my quarter. Yeah.
No, but I mean, usually there's a bigger subplot or more characters. You know what I mean? There's
It was much smaller story,
Smaller and condensed cast is what you're looking for there, Alex. Yeah.
as they often have done in the series.
Still enjoyable.
But yeah, I thought it was a great one. So again, just to remind you, we've got Diane Cary at the end of this. So I hope you stick around for that, guys. This is going to be the last Hulk podcast of 2017. I hope to be back next year. I've got a few more plans for a few more interviews, hopefully, and more stories, of course, to talk about. I hope you guys will join me along the way.
Roar!
Yeah.
I'm in.
But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for being on here today. So thank you so much, Graham, Alex, Sue.
That was a pleasure.
And also to previous contributors as well. I want to give them a nod as well. To Beef, to Phil, and Brian as well. So I'm very grateful to you guys for being on here as well. And thanks also to all the guests I've interviewed, giving their time and giving us insights into various episodes. That's really been great. And it's given it a bit of an extra dimension to these shows as well. And thanks to all the Hulk fans out there for tuning in and listening and supporting this. I'm grateful to all of you. So until next time, have a Merry Christmas and a very happy and healthy New Year.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Roar! Alex and I are always gonna, be Hulk fans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it
Enjoy. Happy holidays, folks.
Yeah. Take care, guys. See you next year. Thank you. Bye. Today we're talking, as we have been earlier, about the episode called Life and Death from season 1. And I'm really pleased to have an actress who was in that story, She played a character called Carrie Taylor, and it's none other than actress Diane Cary. How are you, Diane?
Well, thank you. Recovering from a bit of an allergy attack, but other than that, I'm great.
Oh, that's cool. Diane, I mean, apart from being on the Hulk, you did that one episode, which we'll get onto, of course. You have appeared in another series that was created by Kenneth Johnson called V, and you featured in that a bit, and you were also you fell in love with the character Willie, none other than Robert Englund. Can you tell us a bit about working on that series and working with Robert and Kenneth?
It was great. Kenny became a close friend after I did The Bionic Woman. My husband was writing on that show, and that was my first big starring television gig. I had been doing movies of the week, which we had back then, and small things and a lot of theater. And I had been a professional actor since I was 19, and actually supporting my husband, who was in grad school previous to that, and he started writing right out of grad school for Ken Johnson, and that's how I met Ken.
I see. Yeah.
Ken had come to see me in quite a bit of theater, and Jim talked him into letting me audition for The Bionic Woman. And I remember the day I auditioned, and it was a big two-parter, and I sat in the room with Ken and two other producers, and my husband was the writer, and auditioned. And usually when you audition for something, you audition for a couple of pages here or there if it's a leading role. Smaller roles can only be maybe half a page, and they get it right away. Well, they had me audition the entire role. By the end of it, I was completely drenched. This was 80 pages, and I had the lead.
Oh,
and
wow.
when I left the office, I remember driving over the 101 freeway and crying buckets, thinking I had just destroyed, my career was over, I gave the worst. And I got home and my agent called me and said that Ken had cast me. So It was the most grueling, I will never forget it, audition I've ever had to do. I don't think I can ever top it. But it ended in a great gift, which was getting to do that role. And then a few years later, when I was pregnant, for real, with my daughter, Ken cast me in Hulk. So I was pregnant, truly pregnant.
So it really was, that you really were
indeed
with child at the time. That's interesting.
Yeah. Pregnant with my daughter Olivia.
Ah, that's
so
nice.
I remember what was fun about that on set is, I was taking Hamas classes with my husband, so I was really up on all the latest of how to, when you're having a baby, all the details. So I was sort of teaching them, a little bit about what I'd learned, and it was fun. It was really a great experience.
Oh, that's lovely. And so,
Ken is just a terrific not only writer, but he's an amazing director as well. He's just so lovely to work with.
Yes, yeah. Can you tell us about working with Robert Englund? Because you not only did you worked on that, but you also had a reunion with him in a film, I believe, about 30 odd years afterwards or something.
Here a few years ago.
Yeah.
We made that in 2013, and it's a horror movie. It was released online, I think, in 2015. But it was fun to reunite. But we had a blast doing that. There were such great characters, Willie and Harmy in V. Harmy was didn't know anything that was going on. She was surrounded by these, especially in the first 4 hours, surrounded by lizards, and she was completely oblivious and just in love with this guy who spoke really strangely and, just charmed her.
Yes.
So it was very fun, and he's just a wonderful actor and, just a great talker. Robert he can tell, he's a storyteller, Robert. He really should write.
Yeah.
He's just so compelling. Or at the craft service table at lunch, whenever, he'll just go into, and everyone's captivated by he's really intelligent, bright, and funny.
That was probably just before he became famous as Freddy Krueger, wasn't it? I imagine.
That's right. Yeah. It was before he did the Elm Street series of movies. He did 8 of them, I think, a lot.
Yes, he did quite. He did a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I think, a couple of years. V was over 2 years. Was a 4-hour pilot, and then a 6-hour mini, and then something else before it became a series. But I remember it was 10 hours. I guess it was 6 and 4 in the first 2 years that I was in it. And again, shot over 2 years. Then it was picked up for series, and they killed off a lot of the characters, including me. I tried not to die. I tried not to close my eyes in the hopes that they'd think of bringing me back. It didn't work. But neither did the series. I maintain if they had kept Harmony, that show would have kept.
It would have been a huge success. Yeah, that's right. And you did another series, and I think this is Kenneth Johnson. Was he involved in Alien Nation as well?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And I played a racist neighbor, a very, kind of biased, fit well in American society today now that what's going on.
Yeah.
But he cast me in that. Let's see, that was quite a bit after V, I think. Because he had done another series between V and Alien Nation. It's the title is escaping me, but I want to say it was 5 years later he did Alien Nation. And
I think it was the late 80s, wasn't it? I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
89, 90.
How he cast me for V. He, as I told you, he'd seen me originally in a lot of theater, but it was usually very dramatic. I was doing Chekhov and doing all this stuff, when I auditioned for that Bionic Woman. But then, several years later, but 3-4 years later, maybe more than that, let's see. Yeah, it was more like 8 years later, because I think, like in Track It by my daughter's birth, 78 was the year of the Hulk episode.
Yes.
And that was after, because I did the Bionic Woman. I was just out here right after college with my husband. And then I did the Hulk when I was pregnant. And then it was about 5 or 7 years later, he came to see me in a play that was at the Aquarius Theater. It was an equity show. And I played a taxi dancer. And it was a comedy. And he'd never seen me do comedy. And I remember he loved it. And then about 3 months later, I was back east visiting my family. I get this call from Ken. And he said, would you be willing to do this role? I'm doing a pilot. It's called V. And I just almost leapt through the phone and hugged him and said, yes, of course, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
He's just a wonderful director. And so that's how it started. And V was a great experience.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You worked on another series, Diane, called Forever Night.
Forever Night, yeah.
Forever Night, yeah, and I do remember seeing some of that at the time, but it's kind of vague a little bit with me. I remember just certain things.
He was a vampire lead. He was a vampire cop.
Yes.
And Geraint Wyn Davies is the actor's name. He's Welsh.
That's it. Yes.
Wyn Davies. He works a lot now in Stratford, Ontario, Canada.
Ah.
He's doing a lot of big theater and marvelous actor. But we shot that in Toronto. I actually was in 2 different episodes of that over the course of 4 years, and I wrote 2 episodes. I pitched the ideas to the producing staff. My husband was the executive producer creator on that, but it actually wasn't the original creator. It was originally created by someone else, and there was a famous rock star playing the lead, and it didn't go. The network didn't pick it up, but they loved the idea so much they redeveloped it with my husband.
Yeah.
I want to say Rick Springfield. Could that be possible? Was he an actor ever?
Yes, that's right. He's a singer, but he did act. He did acting as well.
Yes, he was the one.
He was the one that the original pilot or something, wasn't he? And then
they did a presentation pilot for
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And again, it didn't go, and I don't know for what reason, but about a year later, they asked my husband to redevelop it, and they cast Geraint. And I pitched 2 ideas and wrote, I kept hoping I could get away from acting by writing, but I'm an actor, heart, blood, and soul. I've been acting since I was 12 years old, professional since 19, so it's just, nothing could top it for me. It's just my love. I'm on my way to rehearsal right after this, for a David Rabe play here. But, I I don't know. There's nothing once you're hooked.
That's it. I think it's once you're there, you know, it's always in your blood, isn't it? And you can't veer. You can do other things, but you can't veer too far away from your main passion.
The joy. It's, you know, some people do acting for fame, and you know, mommy wanted them. They want to prove to mommy and daddy and all that stuff. But I love it. I'll do it on a bare stage. I'll do it for 10 people in an acting workshop. I'll do it for 500 people, and it doesn't matter. I just love the process and the craft.
Yes, the creativity and everything like that from the start to the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But Forever Night, that went on for quite a long time. Some brilliant actors in that. There was a lot of Canadian actors, of course, because it was shot in Toronto. But,
yes. Yeah. It's interesting they shot in Toronto because later on Vancouver became a very popular place for American shows to shoot.
That's right. The weather's better in Vancouver.
Yeah. It doubles a lot for American, you know, for areas in America. I know, like X-Files and people like that used it a lot. And you know.
They do have some clear sunny days, whereas Toronto is kind of like New York, kind of like, you know, can be even worse. I mean, it's so cold and a lot of dreariness there. You know, it's a cold weather city.
I thought it'd be more Vancouver like that actually, but yeah. So we could. So it's 1978. If I'm just going to transport you back, Diane.
Sure.
It's 1978, and a series, of course, that's why I'm here and you're here, is a series I still love dearly from my childhood, and is, of course, The Incredible Hulk, the TV series, which, just in my opinion, has not been matched in any other form, you know, with the feature films and stuff like that. I thought Lou Ferrigno's Human Hulk, you know, is much better than looking at a computer-generated version. It just loses a lot of heart and soul from it, you know.
He was just extraordinary.
Yeah. So we'll talk about all your co-stars as well and stuff like that, so you can tell me a bit about that. But it's interesting though, getting back to, you know, Forever Night earlier on, the connections are really intriguing with how things overlap with people you know and stuff like that. Of course, your husband, James Parriott, of course, created or went on to create the Forever Night, you know, when they redid it, as you said, and has done various other Hulk episodes as well, as a supervising producer throughout a year of it or something like that. He was quite heavily involved in it. Yeah,
that's right. He was.
So
he started writing on the $6 Million Man, then he worked up to the Bionic Woman.
Yeah. They did all those ones as well. Yeah.
So he was in the Kenneth Johnson.
He was
there.
Very much so. Yeah.
And they got along so great, and they were both so happy to work together. It was a great partnership there.
Yeah, that's lovely. So Life and Death, Diane, how I'm just curious, how was the casting process for the Hulk at that time? What did you have to do to get the part in that?
Well, the process is in general, you know, your agent submits you go in, you read for, you know, if it's a guest star role, which that was, you would normally, now they do self-tape and all that, but back then, you'd go into the office and you'd be reading for the casting director and perhaps the casting director's assistant.
Yeah.
And then if you pass that test, then they bring you in. You know, it's not like network, like you're casting a pilot, which goes through a lot more steps in casting, where you ultimately get to a point where you're auditioning for about 10 or 15 people at a big long table, and all the work, the studio, but back then for this episodic guest star. Because your agent sends you in, you audition for the casting, and if you pass that, then you go and you audition, usually for the director, the producer, and the casting director. You're called back, and sometimes there's another callback. I had quite a bit of that in my career, you know, where I'd get called back several times and then not make the cut in the final, which is always so heartbreaking. But specifically for the Hulk, I think because Ken already knew my work, not just from the stage, but from having worked on that big show for Jamie Shield for the Bionic Woman, and he trusted me, and I was pregnant. It was kind of a fun thing.
Yes, yeah.
To cast me. So they did. They just said, "You got to do this. It's perfect." So I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of an invitation in that case, which is very rare. I mean, again, my husband and I worked together for years. We started out as actors together.
Oh, he was an actor as well, yeah.
Yeah, we are actors. We met in college. We've been together since University of Denver days. And we moved out here because he was changing his field to writing. And he went to UCLA grad school. And those were the years that I was supporting him. And so once he got to a position to help me out, he did. So it was really great.
That's wonderful. Where were the areas that you shot? Can you remember the location work on that, Diane?
Mainly they were on set. That show was very much a Universal Studios on, those days. Now Universal's like a big, like Disneyland almost.
Yes.
You shoot some on the lot, but when I was doing the Hulk, and in those days, oh my God, the whole lot was interiors, exteriors. It would bring horses, cavalry. I mean, it was the central place. I mean, because it was acres and acres, and as I said, now it's taken over by amusement park stuff. Tourism.
Oh yeah.
And the big trains. Well, none of that was there. It was all really alive with shows being shot. And the Hulk was my episode. I think 90% of it was just on sets, sound stages. Yeah, sound stages. Yep.
Because I was just curious about the exterior of the Matrix place, the place you were in. I hadn't really seen that before in the series. Maybe it popped up again, but I was wondering if that was a real location.
I don't think so. They built a lot then too. Now it's prohibitive, but huge construction crews. I mean, they would build things for these shows. It was pretty phenomenal. Down to there were live orchestras scoring these things.
Yes, that was amazing.
This is those days of going in, and it's so exciting to see the 100-piece orchestra, playing to the screen while the Hulk is being played on the screen, and they're actually composing to it. I mean, it was so gorgeous that part of it, so rich.
Yes.
And now things are down to the way things are.
Yes.
Computer generated, and
Yeah.
Line and.
We can work in some. It works. I think it can work better if it's subtle. Computer effects if they're more subtle.
Yeah.
But when they're like in your face and it's obvious, it is a computer generated image. I mean, it's a little bit too much for me.
Exactly. I remember speaking of shooting on set, the Bionic Woman. Just quickly to get back to that, I remember I had one big monologue. It took place in a kitchen. I played a cadet. I was a police cadet.
Yeah.
And it was a very sort of emotional monologue. They don't have those very much anymore for actors, but it was literally a page of me talking. And they called me a week later and said they were devastated that I had to go in ADR, which is reshoot
additional dialogue,
because there was a refrigerator going.
Yeah.
In the background. It was 2 a.m. when we were shooting it, so no one noticed it. And so I had to ADR the entire thing. But it was fine. It worked out okay. It actually ended up looking okay, but that was kind of devastating.
I bet. You had to go through it all again, yeah.
Now the refrigerator, because we were shooting in one of the rooms adjacent to the cafeteria.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be the cafeteria of the police station. And so again, 2 a.m, some sound person just didn't hear that hum of the refrigerator, and it showed up when they looked at the dailies.
Now, what was interesting about this episode, Life and Death, Diane, is that what was interesting throughout the series in many ways. There was quite a lot of episodes where they touched on quite serious issues within a fantastical, superhero series. But I mean, the human stories that were in it were very, very. Some of them were quite deep,
Yes.
I believe one that that James directed, called A Child in Need, was of course about child abuse and domestic abuse, which is a very, very heavy issue for something that was a prime time superhero series. But
Sally Kirkland played the mother
Yes,
in that.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
very touching and very actually devastating, that episode.
It was.
It's interesting because the whole series was guided by anger. The passion of anger was the headliner. And so we all can connect to that, the horrifying results of anger. And anger can create all kinds of violence and sad separation from family and whatever it is. It's a frightening human emotion. It's one of the most devastating human emotions, I'd say, is anger.
Oh, yes.
Destructive.
It's destructive. That's right. Yeah.
And so I think since that's the Hulk represents that, it was a magnet for these kinds of stories. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this storyline, the one you were in, Diane, is very much something that people, a mother and a parent can relate to, about having the fear of having their child taken away. You know, and this addresses it in an interesting way. But the issue is still the same. You know, you've just given birth to your child. They're trying to take it away from you before you can actually emotionally attach yourself to the child, and it's got that heartbreaking element for the parent. You know. So again, there's this. There's something more going on in the Hulk episodes than people. You know, at the time when you're a child, you don't see these issues. You're just looking out for the green guy, you know. But later on, when you watch it as an adult, you realise that this series had much more layers to it, you know.
Absolutely, and that's where the great writing comes in, you know, is to find human stories that trigger this emotion that it's all based on, you know, the scary, you know, anger being unleashed and uncontrolled. And there's so much domestic violence, unfortunately, today that we still deal with.
See, that's the thing. Still, currently, you know, that's going to go on. It happens every day somewhere, you know. Sadly, so these issues are just as relevant now as they ever were, you know.
Absolutely. And I think key again is the great writing that Ken and Jim and others on that show created these stories. You know, again, the theme and the theme of the show just elicited these great, you know, very dramatic and very real, you know, episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Lou Ferrigno was.
Oh yeah, tell me about Lou. Yeah.
Man, to sit there and get all that makeup put on every day. My God, hours.
I don't know how he did it.
I don't know either. I have no idea how he did that. It was hours and thick green stuff, and it took forever to take it off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably quicker taking off than putting on, but yeah, still a long process. And he could be in that for 12 hours or more, couldn't he? You know, waiting to come on for his little bit, and then, you know, because you'd have to stay in makeup until he's called, you know, for his little scenes, and then, you know, he can't have it taken off till the very last shot at the end of the day, you know, when he's needed. So that must be hard.
He tried, of course, to condense his work hours so that it was in, you know, large chunks and not, you know, first thing in the morning and last shot at night.
Yeah.
That's usually the guest star that gets that. Yeah, I joke that when you're the guest star, they call you at 5 a.m. They make up hair, everything done. You're done by 7, and you shoot at 6 at night.
Ah, right.
You're usually the last because they want to make sure the star gets done first because they can, you know, wrap them early so they can start the next day and they don't get overtired and they're fresh. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But the poor guest star sitting there in the trailer all day, all made up and ready, and finally you get your call at 6 or 6:30 at night.
Oh dear!
Come on set.
All those hours, yeah. That's madness, isn't it? What do you do to occupy your time? I mean, what do you do? Read a book, or I don't know what you would do for all that time.
Yeah, and very often, unfortunately, you'd be saying your lines to a post.
Yeah.
The actor's been wrapped.
Yeah.
You know, you can blame them. They got to be there at 5 a.m. every day. You know, and they're shooting a whole series, and they're the star. You know, I don't blame them. I mean, at 11 o'clock at night, they're not going to stay there for my close-up.
Yeah.
That's why they teach you, you know, when you study acting, you have to learn to act to a chair, and they mean that literally.
So sometimes you were literally acting to nothing.
Correct.
Because they'd already gone home. I see, yeah. All the tricks of photography, hey, you wouldn't know that. Yeah. But tell me about your co-stars. I want to obviously start with, of course, Bill Bixby. What's your memories about Bill?
Oh gosh. Oh, he was very high energy, and really bright. Again, really, really bright. Not that all actors are. Well, it stands out when they're super intelligent, and he had a lot of input into the dialogue. I think he didn't rewrite the scripts or anything like that, but he always had a strong point of view. You always knew that Bill wouldn't just come in and say his lines and, memorize it, whatever, blah, 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 and do a fine acting job. But he was also very invested in the words, and he really cared. And same with Lindsay Wagner. They were both very similar in that way. Really caring.
Yeah.
Caring about the process and really wanting to make it right. So that's what I remember the most about Bill, and just a beautiful smile.
Yeah.
When he broke into smile.
Yeah, he seems such a lovely soul from from people I've spoken to who work with him on the series. They all echo that sentiment,
Oh, just beautiful person. Yeah.
Yeah. And also that the co-stars that were in it were interesting, because Andrew Robinson went on to do. Well, he was a baddie in the Dirty Harry movie, I think.
Okay.
That was early. That was a lot earlier. But then he went on to do Hellraiser, a film called Hellraiser, which was a big franchise with Clive Barker, creator. So he went and I think he's done some Star Trek stuff as well. The later Star Treks, the spin-offs. Right. So he did okay, But what was it like working with Andrew at that point?
He's a very formal, very how do I say that? I'm trying to dig up the memories. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I had scenes with him. I don't think I had that many scenes with him. Did I?
Not,
in that episode? No.
A few, not a huge amount, but a few, yeah.
He was in V for a second. I kind of am remembering him from V.
He may have been.
But I could get that. I could be getting that confused.
Yeah.
But I just remember him sort of elegant, formal, strong actor. That's about all I could say. I had a wonderful experience on that show. Again, Ken and Jim, who directed it, they were on set a lot, always making everyone feel part of a family. It was very much a family situation. And given the fact that I was having a baby, I guess added to that family vibe.
Did that was that just... I'm just curious, Diane, was that written for you, that you had a baby, or was that just by chance that they were doing a storyline about that? And
I think it was an idea. As I said, now they have what they call writers' rooms, but back then they didn't call them writers' rooms. But now they have more like 8 to 10 writers that are on the staff.
Yeah.
And they all gather in a room and they do stories at the beginning of a series, right?
Yeah.
Back then it was a smaller group writing, and I think similar process, fewer people. But I remember in the beginning they have to pitch all the storylines, and they were coming up with because it was the Hulk and they wanted all these very human, warm to contrast the Green Monster, right? The most tender, vulnerable. So they just came up with what these situations to base episodes upon, situations of life and death, or giving birth, or a child being, beaten, or a woman running from a man with a gun, whatever it was, extreme situations. So no, it wasn't written for me. I think it was pitched and created as part of the series, but then they realized I might not have even been pregnant at the time that was written, that they were pitching the episode.
Yeah.
I think once it came down to being written, it was kind of like, wait a minute, Diane's perfect for this,
Yeah. Oh yes. Now I was going to ask you about your current projects. I think you said earlier you were just going off after this recording for an audition.
Right now, no, I'm actually have a rehearsal.
A rehearsal, sorry. Yeah.
I'm always in a professional workshop that's at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and it's run by Howie Deutsch, who's a pretty well respected and known film and television director. And that's how I keep my chops when I'm not doing theater or lucky enough to get a gig these days. on TV. I'm always working on projects with other professional actors. And this is a David Rabe play called Those the River Keeps, and I play a New York sort of Italian with a New York accent, trying to save a woman from a husband who's beating her. There you go.
Oh, there we are. You see, it goes around. It comes all around again.
10 years ago, David Rabe.
Yeah.
It's about domestic violence, so it's still here with us. But I did 2 movies last year. One is just coming out called American Fango, an Italian director. Again, someone I know who called me. Generally speaking, that is how I get work these days. Someone who's worked with me or knows me.
Yeah.
And then I finished a movie called Haraka, and that was a really nice part. That someone in my professional workshop recommended me to the director, Hans Bemler. Bemler, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but he's also done a lot of television. And I don't know when that's going to come out. So I played a newscaster in that. And other than that, I'm writing a play, also my first. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Interesting. You'd have to tell me more about that later. How are you doing with that? Yeah.
Well, I am Italian and from New York. So it actually coincides with this David Rabe thing I'm doing a little bit oddly. Life always seemed to reflect art, right? Art reflects life. But I started this play about 8 months ago, and doing a lot of research about the mafia, and it's about 2 sisters, and it's kind of a mystery. It's a murder mystery.
Yeah.
There's been a murder in the family, and how it gets discovered and how it gets passed on through the generations. It's hidden as a secret, and then it gets exposed, kind of like a cold case thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the theme of it, and that's kind of what I'm trying to write anyway. I'm only in the beginning of the first act. It took a lot of research. Writing is a lot of research, I find.
Absolutely.
Same thing with acting. It's and that's the fun, reading and researching and perfecting an accent and all those things. It's a multifaceted craft.
Yes, it is indeed. Yeah. Well, Diane, I've really enjoyed our conversation. I do appreciate you.
Talking to you.
I do appreciate you. And it's been really nice. And I want to thank you, and also thank the listeners for listening. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back soon with some more Incredible Hulk podcasts. Until then, take care and goodbye.
Okay, great.